Hello, welcome, Spiritual Mag. My name's Sam Bell, and today we are going to have a seminar, complimentary seminar. And the information that I will be sharing with you will be compact, and it may not be entertaining, but it will be interesting. Okay, so the general category for this seminar is called generalizations. 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 So those are the sounds that comprise a word, generalizations. And those sounds are produced by your vocal cords and then are vibrating the air. And then the air vibrates your eardrum when you say generalizations. So that's what's physically happening to your body right now. Plus, you're getting to watch my lovely face when I say generalizations. So there's generalizations. There's like more than 10 sounds, 10 different sounds in there. Generalizations. It's one word, it's one thought form. The word generalizations. It's got more than 10 different sounds in it. Now, each sound is called a phoneme. So, like p and b are two different phonemes. Okay, might be the same letter, but it's two different phonemes. So, there's like more than 10 phonemes in the word generalizations, even though there's one thought form. Now, the thought form itself is kind of the important part. Now, you need to think that you're making these sounds, you're hearing these sounds, they're acquiring a memory with you. It's called an auditory memory. So you have short-term and long-term auditory memory. So usually right off the bat, boys and girls, the first word you learn is what? Mama. What's the second word? Papa. So the thoughts in your mind get associated with the sounds. The sounds are not the thoughts. The sounds are just symbols that are attached that retrieve the memories of the experiences of having your lips pressed together, pushing air out here and say mama, and doing it with the more pressure and pressing your lips tighter, papa. And that's usually kind of where it's at. Okay, that's in all different languages. So you start off kind of as a blank state, learning things, and nothing's the same. Mama's usually kind of similar each time, and Papa's probably similar each time too, but everything else is different. You can have something like dog, do different sounds, but different thing. So what happens is your mind starts attaching thought forms to the sounds, and you develop long-term memories. Now, when you say dog, you could mean, a Wiener Schnitzel dog, a Rin Tin Tin dog, like a North Pole pulled a sled dog. It's dog. It's see how the generalization of the word dog can be generalized. So when you grow up, you learn thought forms like dog, doggy. And when you feel your tongue pushing up on the roof of your mouth and your g in the back, those physical things get attached to the sounds and the memory. Listen to me, please. They get attached to the sounds and the memory. Okay, so that's right. Yeah, somebody question, they'll go, um, They'll produce a pressure, pushes on the bottom of their vocal cords. They'll retrieve the thought form that's attached to the generalized sounds that you were exposed to, that you learned. So there's phonemes and morphemes. Morphemes are kind of like where the thoughts are, and phonemes are kind of like in here with the ears too. Morphemes and phonemes, and they're all generalized. That's been that way since the get-go, since the beginning of civilization. Otherwise, you were the first to be eaten by somebody, like a wild animal. You couldn't listen to the sounds and determine, sounds like a grizzly bear. It's not a blackbird. You'd just be eaten, scarfed up, because you'd be sleeping somewhere with, in the dark with your eyes closed. So it's like, a panther's going to eat you all day long. Crocodile all day long at night. They love people sleeping on the banks. No, crocodile just, oh, here's a good place to put the tent. So generalizations of sounds are attached to generalizations of thought forms. Okay. I just said generalization of sounds. Okay. I said generalizations of sounds. Also, generalizations of thought forms. Now, the sounds themselves are just vibration at certain frequencies. And some people can hear them, some people can't. Some people can pull them out of the background noise, like auto mechanic can listen, hey, you got the main bearings going, or whatever, right? You could pull out the sounds, or like say, mother can hear the baby cry, like everybody else can't hear anything. So in this process of developing language and speech and generalizations, you can have a Texan talking to somebody that grew up in London, and nobody will be making the same sounds, but they'll understand each other on some level. Okay? So everything is a big generalization. Follow me so far? It's not complicated. Now, there's generalizations about generalizations. Okay, how many people have been inside a submarine and launched a torpedo? Nobody. Maybe a couple dozen, maybe. But how many people think they have to know what this is? So you're generalizing from something that you learned off a screen. Now, this is the process of how people, human beings, acquire language and speech, what they're exposed to. So since the beginning of time, there was no digital with the TV on. Hello? People heard speech sounds from people making the speech sounds, not electronic speakers, but not you and me. We've learned our speech from what we perceived and watched on television or radio, along with the people in our immediate environment. It's always that way. Now, in the goldie days, you know, 3,000 years ago, let's say 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years before our Lord was here, more or less. Smart people, good communication skills, could determine all kinds of stuff, build all kinds of stuff. Without electricity, holy moly, they had exceptional speech, and their newborns came in with a pretty nice brain, unpolluted, only hearing what was in their immediate environment. And intelligent people would have intelligent babies who would learn intelligent information they would be exposed to. And you could have an intelligent baby brought into the jungle and let them live with the dogs, and they don't learn to even walk on their back feet. So the environment is a contributing factor to what the individual acquires. So you've acquired most of your stuff right there on the screen. I'm saying good job. Okay, but did you want to acquire it? Now, since the beginning of time, say, 3,000 years ago now, 2025, 1000 BC, consciousness has not really moved forward that much. Okay, people are still trying to hit each other in the head with rocks or whatever, doing nice stuff. So Earth continues to be a school. There's no question about that. And then everybody passes on and goes to home to heaven. So, what has changed in the last 200 years, or 100 years, or 50 years, the most about everything is privacy. You have no privacy. See, Constitution, you know, you had privacy. Okay, so we went from generalizations to privacy. So what? Well, the generalizations of the sounds I'm making are the thoughts that you're going to have to learn to understand because everybody needs to elevate their consciousness. For example, just to put things into context, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay. We got some big, ugly bruiser trying to kick my butt because I've done something or owe him something. And he's got a bigger, uglier, meaner brute who's trying to clobber him. I'm like, well, that guy, maybe give some McDonald's, meal tickets, can't hurt. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Now, do you understand that? Because that's how Britain ruled the globe. Okay. That's why people fled England and came to the United States. Okay. Now, England is a giant, huge. No, it's not a huge country. It's a little tiny island. What the fuck? It's a little tiny place. Do they have millions and millions of soldiers? No, they didn't have millions and millions of soldiers. What they had was good intelligence. They had good intelligence. So they could go into a place, bribe or kill, whatever they got to do, bribe or kill, whatever they got to do, and make the person they want eliminated have another enemy that's bigger and better. So they'd go to a place and make a fight. Make it, I mean, India and Pakistan, North Korea, South Korea, East Berlin, West Berlin. Okay, so that technique works really well because as long as you can sneak in there and get this person to do something stupid to this guy, you can make them get into big beef. And if they're males, they're probably assholes anyway, egos. Okay. Now, the locals always want the most hated person as the leader. Okay. The people that locally run the country, like the big corporations, they're going to want the leader to be the most hated motherfucker on the planet because then they can always get somebody to eliminate him anytime. So the leaders are fighting with, it's like, what's his name? It's a little weasel guy. He's a senator. Anyway, so Britain would go to places that cause problems, and the problems would cause other people to fight each other. And that's the way it's done. Okay. Works really well until they got to the Soviet Union. Back then, there was a big country, had 5 time zones called the Soviet Union. Today, it's Russia. Okay. So they controlled everybody, nobility and royalty and all that kind of stuff. Basically, it's done through the Bank of England. The money in the Bank of England is what's used to control people and control things. Money, you can always find somebody to do something if you got enough money, always. And the City of England, the city of London, in the center of London is a banking institution. So they're the heart and soul of behavior mod, of, tyrants or whatever, you know, Joe Biden, Obama. So as we went into the computer age, the privacy age went bye-bye. Okay. So not only is the morphology and the phonology, the speech and language, been digitally propagandized into everybody's minds. Okay. Okay. All the sounds and thoughts that went into your head. Okay. Nobody showed up at your door and said, you got to go get a fucking shot. Nobody. It was done through the digital. You know what I mean? It's not hard to do. especially if you use behavior modification and hypnosis. Hello. It's not hard. Are you wearing a uniform right now? Now, example. In World War II, the Russians stopped the Nazis. The Americans didn't stop the Nazis. The British didn't stop the Nazis. The Russians stopped the Nazis in Berlin. Okay. How did Hitler get in control? How did Hitler get in control? Well, I'll tell you how Hitler got in control. He was one of those, the enemy, my enemy is my friend. Okay, so Britain had complete control of Germany at the time. Germany is super smart. Late 30s, super smart. With psychiatrists and engineers, and who knows, UFO people, whatever, hanging out. Really smart. They installed, the British installed Adolf into Germany. That's what they did. That's what they do. Just like, Saddam Hussein got installed by the States, or what's this guy, the leader in Ukraine, this other puppet monkey got installed by somebody. They get installed by somebody else, and everybody hates him. That's how it's supposed to work. Okay, that's the easiest way to control people. So at the conclusion of the war, it didn't conclude. What started was the Cold War, and suddenly Russia, the Soviet Union, became the enemy of England. Now, why in the fuck is that? Because the truth came out, but you didn't hear the truth. It's called a lie of omission. You didn't hear the truth. That's called a lie of omission. The second question is a minor detail. Teeny, teeny little detail. Do you know who had their first regularly scheduled television program? Now you use TV history, but like, do you know? Do you know who had the first regularly scheduled television program? You don't know, do you? Isn't that kind of strange you don't know? Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler had their first regularly scheduled television program. But you don't want to know that. The public doesn't need to know that. Now they're starting to figure it out. Now, let's jump forwards. Now, the last 2 days, they've been putting out well, we just had the Super Bowl yesterday, and Trump had those TV commercials of all this fucking stolen money, giving us stupid shit under those generalization terms, you know, stuff. And not thousands, but billions, billions. Like food for people entering the country illegally as they are entering the country illegally. Welcome packages. So behavior modification with the wall down is not hard, especially if they're let out of prison someplace that's god awful. Okay, now the terms that were used through the media when all this was happening just sucked you in, sucked me. Well, it didn't suck me in. I'm a speech and language pathologist for, 42 years. But everybody else, they just, 93% of the doctors went and got the shots. Can you fucking believe that? Okay, so this stuff about speech and language and hearing and the sounds and the words, you just learn what you're exposed to. You didn't walk up when they started talking, German because, you're born in Mexico. It doesn't happen that way. You learn what you're exposed to. You grow up on the Swiss border, you're probably going to speak German, Italian, and French, and probably some American English. Probably, even if you're Down syndrome. You're Down syndrome, you're raised at home in Lugano, Switzerland, on the lake. A nice elderly woman had a, baby. She didn't get a sonogram, Down syndrome, high five. They grew up in a really intelligent setting. People treat them respectfully. They walk up and talk to you in four different languages and not doing anything stupid. So you learn what you're exposed to. That's the bottom line. The sounds that are coming out your mouth, those are the sounds that you were exposed to. If you have a hearing loss, the sounds you don't make are the sounds you don't hear in speech sounds. So, well, Elon's going, well, we got, 44 million, billion, trillion for, sweater vests for caterpillars in Nigeria. And people go, what? It's just insane stuff, totally insane stuff. Meanwhile, the United States has people that are homeless, and veterans and, you know, laying on the ground, hopeless, whatever. So you're just learning about that, you know. You're just learning about that. So that's the lie of omission, as I mentioned in the beginning. You got generalizations of the morphemes and phonemes. Then you got lies of omission. You don't need to know about that. Like Hitler in the first TV show, they don't need to know that. They don't need to know that the Bank of London with British intelligence, British did have the best intelligence. They had the best navies, and naval intelligence is usually pretty good. Usually the best, just because you got these guys on the ship. So, okay. And you can work out all the ingredients for the meatball. Maybe it needs a little more garlic and chop up some garlic and then put it in here. So the final seasoning is neuromarketing. Neuromarketing. What's he saying? What's that word? Neuromarketing. Okay, what does that mean? Neuromarketing means that you're being stimulated with digital visual images and digital audio images right now. That's influencing your environment, the people around you, and you. Okay, it can make your blood pressure go up. It can put you to sleep, make you excited. This electric stimuli that comes in off the screen. Okay, so the visual is pretty darn good, and the auditory is pretty darn good. Okay, but that's not an important part. The important part is today they have what's called brain mapping. Brain mapping, which means, they put the little funny little hat on with the little wires coming up and they put stuff on and then you look and see what you can do. And so they can map your brain. So they can see what you're doing with technology that's faster than your brain. They can do this with technology that's faster than your brain. Uh-huh. So you combine AI. You got chat. What's the next one? Chat up somebody or chat, who knows? Chat kakavaka, okay? Chat, whatever. A data bank of everything you've ever done, thought, looked at, talked to. You combine that AI together, then you combine neuroscience, which is what you're looking at, what's going on in the individual's brain. So they can have somebody like, oh, Anthony Fauci, no, you're safe. Don't worry. And people will go, he looks pretty honest. Now, when they do neuroscience and neural mapping and neuromarketing, they're not going to put in somebody that looks like, some tattooed Mexican guy with dirty black hair, looking out of jail, saying, fuck, they're not going to do that because your brain will, bang. So what they do is they groom the image, determining on what people's mind respond to. Okay? Got it? Think about that. So they groom the image to what people's minds respond to. Okay? And they bring in data banks and AI and behavior modification and covert hypnosis with digital stimuli. And before you know it, you're in line in your car getting a free shot that's supposed to save your life. And the negative reinforcer is, I'm going to die. Okay, and the only way they can remove that negative reinforcer that came through the screen, that where you got that concept, another way to remove that negative uh, reinforcer is to believe that you're not going to die, that you're protected. And that's done with the digital too. But you got to go in and get the shot. And then you believe that that's a liable mission that's done on purpose. Okay. That's not an accident. Okay. It's not an accident. So like in ancient times, you're asleep in the cave, you hear a, grizzly bear walking up the mountain. You're, you wake up and run or whatever, get a club or, throw fire at it or something. But if you can't hear the grizzly bear and you don't know the grizzly bear's there, well, that's kind of how it is with the deep state. Okay. You don't know they're there. And they use generalizations of the fucking yin yang. For example, the Fed. The federal bank. That sounds like a federal bill, a federal thing, right? Like it's a part of the government. It's not a part of the government. It's not. It's completely fake. Healthcare. Think of that generalization. Healthcare. So now all the stuff that Elon and his crew have brought up in the last week that's just making everybody go bonkers has been hidden. Okay. You didn't know anything about it. Just like the stuff I just told you about how your mind is manipulated by the sounds and thought forms and visual images that are impacting you through this screen. Okay. And you don't know it. Just like privacy. Okay. Privacy was one of the three things that I started off with: generalization, lies of omission, and privacy. And that's also covered in the Constitution. You have the right to privacy, but somehow, okay. And also back then you had what would be called a reporter. And then the people that had it as a job would be a journalist. Like, my uncle, Frank McGee, NBC News, was a real journalist. Close to the Today Show, went to Vietnam. Okay. He was assigned to Ike, President General Eisenhower during the war. He had a girlfriend at the time, Kay Summersby, lovely Irish lass. Anyway, so another generalization is the CIA. Okay. The CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. Oh, that's nice. Is it the American Intelligence Agency? Mm, the American. No, it's a central. It's a Central Intelligence Agency. Well, when did it start? At the end of World War II. Yeah. Well, I would think they would call it the American Intelligence Agency, but they didn't because it was the Central Intelligence Agency. So now what happened is the people in Nazis who were funded by the Bank of London, the city of London, and the schmuckle is a high intelligence over there. They were funded by them, just like this Zelensky guy in Ukraine. It's the same thing. It's the same Nazis. It's the same monies, except that they're using American monies. Understand this. The Nazis were stopped in Berlin, pushed back to Berlin by the Russians. The war ended. Suddenly, Winston Churchill said, "It's a Cold War. Those people don't have freedoms." They just got plowed into by all the Nazis, supported by that. I won't get into the list of American outfits. Look up Nazi Party in New York, you know, or 30s. It's jammed. Anyway, just like today. The same, we get American money going to the Zelensky guy in Ukraine, and he's a Nazi, and he's fighting the Russians. So it's the same old motherfucking story been going on the whole time. Just the words have been changed, and generalizations kind of merged, like Diet Coke, Diet, huh? Persons, they got this 500, 600 pound people that are drinking a Diet Coke. And so these are thought forms that are inadvertently absorbed by the poor individual watching it who doesn't recognize that everything today is about follow the money. Everything, everything, everything. And everything today is using neural marketing. But the agreement with the neural marketers, they can't tell anybody that they're using neural marketing. So it's all covert. Okay. So they've got control covertly with the data banks of neural marketing of what you're going to be learning. So now is a good time for people to learn to meditate. Okay, which means you're not looking outwards for stimuli to resolve inner problems. You're looking inside on a spiritual path, how to love yourself and love others, not judge yourself or judge others. You can judge others' actions, you can judge your own actions, but you can't even judge yourself, loved one. You can't judge another person because you can't judge another person's soul. You can't judge your own soul. You know who made your soul, right? Are you going to judge creator? Okay. So in this process of birth as a school, creating trauma to the stupid motherfuckers that are greedily trying to control shit and causing lots of trauma is not going to solve any problems. It's not going to solve any problems. Not enough cowboy guns to make it work. There's some big guns that can make the planet become the bottom of a Weber barbecue, really, by accident right now. So the only solution is, drum roll, the only solution is going within, meditate, and elevating your consciousness. Elevating your consciousness, your ability to love yourself with unconditional love and other people with unconditional love without judging. Okay. When you do that, what happens is the lessons learned. The big lesson for you is learned. That opens your doorway, if you reach up, for higher consciousness beings who reside on the earth or above the earth, higher being entities to communicate with you to help you move forwards because you're going to die eventually, boys and girls. You might want to think about the path you're on today because that's not going to stop just because you left your physical body. Recognize you're looking at me, you're paying attention. We're talking about speech and language, blah, 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 history, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're using your willpower, your ability to focus, and your unconditional love. There's no place to x-ray your willpower or your ability to focus or your unconditional love. You can't get a surgeon. They could look for it, but they're not going to find a piece of your unconditional love. Oh, I found it. Or your willpower, your ability to focus. Those are timeless things. You use those things before you incarnated to incarnate yourself. Okay, don't change the channel. I'm telling you the truth. Don't shoot the messenger. You used your willpower, ability to focus, unconditional love to incarnate yourself. They're in you now. And when you kick off, when your body dies, the blood stops and the water kind of dehydrates. Your willpower, your ability to focus, unconditional love leave. And to be honest with you, a lot of people don't even know they're dead because it doesn't feel any different. Doesn't feel any fucking different. So for people that committed suicide, it's like, oh, fuck, what the fuck was I thinking? And then it just gets even worse. Okay, you are a spark of the divine. Now, elevating your consciousness involves your consciousness is inside your cranium around your body. Outside of this is something called morphic resonance. But basically, that's kind of like thought forms and emotions and feelings that go out into the area. Like, say, somebody's having a shit kicker fight, and you walk in and you're like, oh, so what's going on? Why is the dog like hiding? Right? So it's vibes. So those vibes are non-local consciousness. So when you have you got Hitler up there going, hi, Hitler, and he's got, 10,000 guys there and 10,000 guys there and, 50,000 people in bed going, "Ah." The local consciousness and the non-local consciousness is really powerful. It's actually a hypnotic event. Hmm. It's a hypnotic event. So, like you see a person they watch these hypnotists on TV, and the hypnotists will go, okay, if I say the word umbrella, or just stand up in your chair and yell, I want popcorn. And then they finish it all over. And so then everybody having a good time. I left my umbrella. And there's some lady who was hypnotized stands with back and goes, I want popcorn. Well, Hitler did that. He did it live. And then when the TV came out, people just follow up on it. It doesn't go away, especially if the controlled media is controlling you, the concepts, the thought forms that you're walking around with today, constructed in your mind, and that stuff coming in this way. Okay? And it all fits together and is plausible. And it comes in and it comes in. Pretty soon, your whole world revolves on what's coming in and what's going on. And I got a Siri, Google it to find out. Do I need a vaccination? So think of two things here at the conclusion. One, what Elon's showing you on the budget and the funding that's going on behind your back, the secret, it's a bigger ball game with the mind control that I've just reviewed with you. That's going on. All the fucking people that are out there broke, still believing shit that is generalizations of vocabulary words. Okay? I'm not giving you a story about going within. And when you go within, improve your ability to use your focus, your willpower, and your unconditional love. You might consider service to others. Where did I hear that story? Service to others instead of service to self. Got it? A place to start is go to www.spiritualmag.org and you'll see a section on Civilian Corps. Civilian Corps, which is a volunteer organization of Earth pilgrims who participate in elevating conscious in cooperation with off-planet loving higher consciousness beings and on-planet higher consciousness beings to elevate the consciousness of all sentient beings uh, and Mother Earth. Okay, it's not that complicated. And we do that having loving resonances in our heart, comes from our heart chakra. And then our skeletal system is like a giant crystal. It resonates it out in our local consciousness. And then it impacts the non-local consciousness. And pretty soon, people are not doing really rude things to one another. And consciousness elevates. And eventually, when you do kick off and die, ooh, it's a lot better. You and all your loved ones are always in my prayer. Spiritual Mag, Sam Bell.